And that taking of the breath and that looking at the leaf and that feeling of the air, as we all know by now, if you've, practiced a little bit, it's not a one and done deal, is it? It's not a check the permanent box. It's something that we need to keep doing. So I invite us all, as always, that coming to a meeting like this is a practice, the whole thing. Make it a practice, the whole thing. Make it a practice of being really in touch with the moment, with your breathing, with your body, with the web of life that you are an intimate part of, that you are creation. And that would be the state in which you could understand a topic such as this. And that is the state in which we're able to awaken the soul's intelligence, innate intelligence. We need to facilitate the state where that is possible, because there are different states, there are different brainwave states, there are different states in which different hormones are flowing, different electrical signals are flowing. So we need to create a state that is conducive to that deeper inner heart knowing intelligence, to be able to be perceived by us, for our consciousness to be awake and in touch enough to make contact with that inner knowing. It's often called that still inner voice, that still small voice. And if we're not, I want to say still enough, but even when we're in flow and we're quite in motion, surely you've experienced it in sports, a dancer. Sometimes we're in flow and it's quite energetic, actually. And yet we're in the center. We're in a certain inner stillness. So it doesn't mean everybody needs to be calm. It doesn't have to look like the Zen poster. But what matters is that you're in living contact with yourself in the moment, whether in motion or in physical stillness. It can be either way. But what matters is that contact. And then we're in a state conducive to intelligence, to that inner intelligence. So next month, we'll have a class, Thursday, June 11th, on focusing on the solar way of awakening. And that will emphasize more that masculine active principle, the solar principle, the active principle. So we take these moments to talk about those different forces, and oftentimes we center them near holidays. So it being about to be Mother's Day, we thought, let's have a topic on the divine feminine. In June, it being close to Father's Day, let's talk about the solar principle, that more active principle. They are perfect complements to each other, and we can't really have one without the other. That solar active principle and the receptive feminine principle work together and really are inseparable. So when I talk about, I'm using divine feminine and divine mother kind of interchangeably. So when I'm talking about divine feminine, I'm really talking about the force, the pervasive cosmic energy that is the divine feminine, that web of life. And when I'm saying the divine mother, I'm meaning really a formless embodiment of that divine feminine force that is shown in various forms through the different traditions. Like all the goddesses of the different pantheons show this embodiment of the divine feminine as the divine mother. So the differences are nuanced, but I'm going to say divine feminine and divine mother kind of interchangeably tonight. So as I said, the masculine and feminine polarities of divinity are entirely complementary. So we see this depiction of Shakti Shiva, what in the Christian tradition is referred to as the Holy Spirit, the creative logos, the creative force. But it is both masculine and feminine. It's both together, inseparable. And these two polarities really engender all of creation together. So it's not just the divine feminine as the womb. Like, what's a womb without fecundation? It's not creation. So what's that fecundating force without the womb. It's not creation either. So we need and honor both. And the masculine is that projective force, that what's called positive polarity of electrical charge, whereas the divine feminine is that receptive. It's called negative, but in the sense of receptive, receiving. Mm-hmm. And all religions, all cosmogonies teach that all of creation, all the humans, all the animals, all the plants are the consequence of the creative sexual union of these two forces. That is for sure and repeated. And that we embodiments, in a way, we're the embodiments of divine feminine and divine masculine as male, female in the world. And we too complement each other. You know, we are distinct and actually quite different and yet complementary to each other. And the yin and the yang, the Shiva and the Shakti show that and show us an example of complementarianism, you know, how to complement one another, those forces. And then we have those forces within us as well, those polarities within each person. And we notice that the more active force that we feel and the more receptive feminine yin force that we feel, each of us. What's important is that we as individuals, as well as societally, that we balance those forces. And what else can happen in a city is way too much young, active, masculine energy, because it feels like I got to dial that up to get through. How am I going to get on and off this bus, you know, without some force? But if there's too much of that experience of life back to back to back to back, you know, then I'm really lacking that sensitive, receptive, feminine yin force. That pole becomes unnourished. I'm not going to say it becomes weak. It's unnourished. It's untapped. It's untouched. Too much. Really easy for that to happen in modern times. And it feels like we have to be more aggressive, more assertive than what is really balanced or natural. And then we lose touch, you know, that hurts the heart. And we lose touch with that innate sensitivity, that innate sensitive intelligence and wisdom. So it's really important that we each take the walk on the street. That's what I did in the middle of the day today. I had an early start, you know, 7 a.m. meeting, and it was a group thing, and it was go. And then I had some time later where I thought, oh, wow, you know, if I'm going to be talking about the divine feminine tonight, I owe it to you guys and then to myself and to my being. I got to take this walk and just look at the flowers and take a breath. And I took a little nap, and just to have that balance, that we really need that as much as we can orchestrate that into our lifestyle. It's vitally important. And we are literally less intelligent people if we are not balancing ourselves in this way. We simply don't have access to that intelligence that we need. So also from the Hindu tradition, we borrow so much from the Hindu tradition because the Sanskrit language just has so many ways to describe things that are difficult to describe in English. We don't have all the words because we don't have all the knowledge. We don't have all the wisdom. But Purush is pure consciousness, and it's that invisible kind of background force. And Prakriti, his pair, is really matter, you know, is nature, Prakriti. So Purush and Prakriti work together, but Prakriti, just nature without the wisdom of the being, Purush, becomes unconscious, becomes asleep, becomes dead matter. But Purush, that unseen, the unmanifested creation, needs Prakriti, the canvas on which to paint. So they need each other. And it's talked about as Purush above and Prakriti below. They are constantly magnetizing each other. They're lovers, they're in love. And there's this great magnetism between them, like the earth and the heavens. And in that magnetic field, all of creation occurs. And that's where we are. That's where we are. We're in that magnetic field of Prakriti and Purush. And we know that both are so attractive, right? if you're here, you're attracted to some heavenly things in some way, or you wouldn't come to something like this. But also life is really seductive to do more, to achieve more, to enjoy more, to go to more things, to, whatever it is. But Prakriti in all her infinite creation is super seductive. And then there's the Purush. How do we bring that force of Purush into Prakriti? How do we have that balance, those two working together? So we as an individual soul are the activating principle of Purush within Prakriti. We as humans are the choice point for spirit to be able to be active within matter or not. It is with all love and respect and due honor to all the other creatures who haven't lost their minds like people have. With all due respect to that, the human being is the creature with the mind that connects with the consciousness in a way that makes us choosers, unlike any of the other creatures on the planet. We are the choosers and should be the guardians, should be the caretakers of all the other creatures. They're counting on us, if you can believe that. All the other creatures, all the plants, all the animals, all the intelligent gems and stones, all of creation is looking towards humanity to make the choice, to make the right choices. When we don't pause and breathe, when we don't stop and look at nature and feel ourselves in a yin receptive divine feminine moment, I am a part of you and you are a part of me. Nature, river, tree, plant, flower, animal, other person, I'm a part of you and you're a part of me. If we don't feel that, if that's just an idea that's nice to think because I want to be a good person, but if I don't really feel it in a being-centric way, then what choice can I possibly make? What choices will I make? So we people are the activating principle, are the chooser of whether or not Purush will be active in Prakriti here and now. That is the great responsibility and gift of being a human, of being a person. And that's what Gnosis teaches us how to do. How do we in modern times recapture Purush within Prakriti? Well, we do it one breath, one pause, one moment, one transmutation at a time. And like I said earlier, it's not a one and done situation, which, Myra, you're new here tonight and you said every week, that we get together every week and we have different groups. We have a certain group that meets on Tuesdays and another group that meets on Wednesdays and another one on Thursdays, because of course, the reminders that we need progress. The way that we need to be reminded, our capacity to practice progresses. And so, every week. And for each of us, every day, practice in a way that the divine feminine intelligence is alive in you. It matters. Imagine right now, every creature on the planet is looking at you and wondering, what will you choose? How will you be? I mean, there's 8.3 billion people on the planet, but there are infinitely more creatures. And they're all looking to the 8.3 billion saying, what will you do with us? How will we move forward? So that's the importance of the topic. Meanwhile, some traditions have largely adulterated the significance of the divine feminine and the divine mother. In order, the Abrahamic traditions, for instance, really wanted to differentiate apart from paganism. And so went to great lengths to kind of squash out the goddess, the depictions of femininity. And also, as religion became, in some circles, in some groups, among some, an opportunity to seize and wield power over people, to amass wealth and wield political power. Well, that's not very yin, is it? So to behave in that way, wouldn't we need to excavate from ourselves the divine feminine wisdom? And if we're excavating that from ourselves, wouldn't we want to kind of erase the reminders of it from the art, from the stories, from the mythology, from everything around us? And so that's unfortunately what's happened in a lot of Western religion, is that the divine mother, as an embodiment of the divine feminine, has been subordinated, dismissed, erased, forgotten, or even demonized. And so that's where we find ourselves in a Western culture in terms of spirituality, that we've lost touch. I went to, with family members, went to a Protestant Christian Sunday church gathering recently, which I enjoy. I like doing things like that, whatever tradition. But I did notice when I went in, there was hardly any art at all. And certainly what was there was devoid of the Divine Mother. Yeah. Now, the Catholic religion has maintained Mother Mary as a really important figure, for sure, and recognizes many female saints. However, to establish the power of the Roman Catholic Church, Mary Magdalene was called a prostitute, which is not actually substantiated in Scripture, and only was finally recanted in 2016. Wow. Because to be a rabbi in the time of Jesus, to be a rabbi, a rabbi was to be married. Jesus was a rabbi. His wife was Mary Magdalene. She was a high initiate. And there were many, many elevated female initiates with Jesus. And that's relatively unknown, because, and this isn't a political conversation. I'm just pointing out how we've diminished, erased the embodiments of the divine feminine in so many ways. And going back to, why would we do that? Because we're operating out of balance, power. We're operating out of balance. So we often turn to other traditions like Hinduism and Buddhism, who have maintained in their art, in their mythologies, in their stories, the divine feminine, such as we have a depiction of the cosmic mother here. And then here we have Kuan Yin, who is a Buddha, a female Buddha. And we would say in Christian terms, a female Christ. And that there are even female Christs. And in the Taoist tradition, the Queen Mother of the West, Zi Wangmu, is one of the most powerful deities of the Taoist tradition. And the Tao itself is spoken of in very feminine terms, like the womb, the valley. The Tao itself is spoken of in this way, and that the yin and the yang energies are seen as entirely complementary, not one without the other. And so again, this is, not to get lost in information, but it's why we appreciate in the Gnostic tradition that we can look into other sources and be resourced and see the distortion in Western religion. And Gnosticism is a resurrection of esoteric mysticism in the West. That's what Gnosticism is. But because of the distortion of Western religion, we need to draw from other traditions and recapture what was lost. So that's why we do that. In Gnosticism, we have the story of our own soul represented in the figure of Sophia, which means wisdom. And Sophia desires creation and desires to create, but forgetting God in a way, wants to become too autonomous and falls into fascination with Prakriti, with creation, with matter, and falls asleep in that fascination, as any of us can do. If we recommend a practice in Gnosis of, at the end of the day, in a meditative state, just breathe rhythmically for a little while, gather some concentration, and look back at your day to comprehend with your heart, how did I live today in my heart? In relation with myself, as body, as soul, and in relation with others. How did I live today? To look back and to see through the eyes of the heart your day. And we will see moments in which we were fallen Sophia. I became really identified. I got really fascinated. I said that thing I didn't really mean, or I showed off in some way, or I lied a little bit. We look back with our heart and we realize, Sophia is me. She is the representation of how it is. Mm-hmm. But she's not just a passive symbol. She's of fertility. She's active, suffering, and a kind of savior, because there's the fall and there's the rise of Sophia in that story. And that's our story. The Gnostic myth is the story of us. So in the Gnostic teachings, we learn about 5 fundamental aspects of, not 10, 5 fundamental aspects of the Divine Mother: the cosmic mother, the intimate mother, Divine Mother Death, Divine Mother Nature, and our divine elemental mother, our elemental mother magician. So about this, the Gnostic master Samael, about the cosmic Divine Mother, says, maybe you could read, Nick. We can hear my voice.
Cosmic Divine Mother. The cosmic mother has no form, but will take on any form in order to answer the supplicant. She can present herself in the form of Isis, Rhea, Cybele, Tonantzin, Mary, etc. When the Divine Mother has given her answer to the devotee, she then disintegrates her form instantaneously, because she no longer needs it. The Divine Mother is not a woman, nor is she an individual. She is, in fact, an unknown substance. Any form that she takes disintegrates afterwards. That is love. So
Thank you. So that's a beautiful description of what is this cosmic Divine Mother. So we have the cosmic and we have the intimate, and this cosmic Divine Mother with no form, but who can take any form. She's pure electricity. She's pure electricity, which is matter in motion. So she's the motion of matter, but not matter itself. The electron within every atom. So she's right here, but she's everywhere. She's everything. Then we have the intimate Divine Mother. So our intimate particular, also referred to as Divine Mother Kundalini. Intimate. Isn't our Kundalini energy intimate? It's a force that also is up to us. What will we do with that creative, intimate force? Our life force, our creative force, our sexual energy is a very intimate relationship, a very intimate question. What will you do with your creative life force, your sexual energy? What do you do? How do you regard it? Do you ignore it? Do you fall into fascination with it? Do you grasp it or avoid it in Buddhist terms? Or do we live in the Tao with it? Do we have balanced relationship with it? Do we recognize, wow, this is a powerful force? Must be for something. It moves people, in positive and negative ways. It shakes, it moves. But that intimate Divine Mother, that we have, that Master Samael and Weor came to really help us to understand and have a very conducive to the soul, conducive relationship with that intimate force that we have. So we talk a lot about that in Gnosis. It's a little bit, we could dive into that and have a whole course on that. It's beyond the bounds of this talk, but that intimate Divine Mother that we have. Then there's Divine Mother Death, scary looking. Divine Mother Death. But don't be afraid. We need her. So that practice that I just talked about, that practice at the end of the day, we call it retrospection, but it's really just, we could imagine it as a heart review of the day is retrospection. And that would be a great setup to then pray to this particular aspect of the Divine Mother. And when we're looking through the eyes of our heart at the day that we have lived, or even after a moment, after an important moment or after a section of our day, and we want to do the pause so that we get in touch with that innate divine feminine intelligence instead of just going on to the next thing, back-to-back meetings, it's like, come on. But take a pause and review with the heart, and we can pray to this particular aspect of the Divine Mother and say, please dissolve in me that pride that I expressed, or that envy that I felt. That's like, oh, I feel, if I'm really feeling that, there's a pain. There's a pain that I can feel in the heart with feelings like envy or resentment. And that I can pray to this part who is all around me, that net, that web that I can trust into, but that's also every electron and every atom that makes me up. Both, that I can pray to this Divine Mother Death aspect, dissolve it. I want to be done with that. I don't want to be that way anymore. And we need these to activate these particular intelligences within us. So the intimate mother and the Divine Mother Death in particular, they work together because they're both potent electrical forces. And we work with both of them to say, dissolve this, free me, liberate me from this. She's fierce. She'll take out her sword and she'll cut you from something. She'll cut the chains of something that you really, really, really in your heart feel that you're ready to let go of. That's the key that she needs, because she respects our free will. And the will is here. Your will resides here. You do what you want in your heart. Everybody does. And if our heart is kind of overrun by the lower chakras, by the instincts and the lower emotions, if our heart is consumed, too much prakriti, too much desire, too much matter, too much information, then that's what we do, because that's what's taken over our heart. It's like unwelcome visitors taking over your house, and they're running the show, and they're answering the phone, and they're getting the groceries, they're doing everything. So we do what's in our heart. And when we feel in our heart, like we're really ready to die to something, to dissolve something, then Divine Mother Death, she's there. She's as fast as electricity. Like she's lightning. She's there. And she will dissolve. But we need to trust her and pray to her. It doesn't just happen, because divinity respects free will. So we need to speak our will, and we need to feel it. We can't just say it. Empty, repetitious prayers, blah, 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 that don't have any feeling in them. They're not going anywhere. Nothing's happening. Mantras that are just not felt, that nothing is happening. Transmutation, hamsa, that is not felt, nothing is happening. Because our will is in our heart, and that's respected by divinity, because the human has a very special place in creation to choose right here. To be in accordance with our will. Then there is Divine Mother Nature. Divine Mother Nature, represented here in this image by the Greek goddess Selene. the goddess of the moon, the sister of Helios, and they are brother and sister. So Helios manages the sun and she manages the moon. So together, and she's in charge of the tides and menstruation and cycles, but mechanical life and nature, that thank goodness it happens. We need the magnetism of the moon or we wouldn't be here. We need gravity, we need magnetism, we need the tides, we need the cycles. But too much prakriti, too much fascination and attachment with matter, and we're just mechanical nature. And there's no awakening in that. So interestingly, in this story, Selene, she engenders 50 children with her lover, Endymion, a human who is asleep. Zeus put him to sleep. So his consciousness is asleep. And mechanical Mother Nature has 50 children with him. The number 5, which is karma, related to karma. And so the karma of sleep is just, we're here to just proliferate. We're here just in mechanical nature. There's a beauty to it, to all of creation, and there's an ugliness when we're just asleep. Because there's a lack of consciousness in what and how we are creating. And we have the world that we live in. Endless unconscious creation. Then there's the elemental Divine Mother. It seems really close to the Divine Mother Nature. Now, creation is a cosmos, which means order. And we can learn to, and really need to learn to, collaborate with cosmos, which is order. So there's an order of things. And the elementals, all the creatures, are organized. They're organized. And so there are higher order devas or angels or elementals, and then there are those that they rule. And there's an order and an organization to nature. And we're part of that as humans. We have this great capability to be kings and queens of nature, but are we? If we never stop and breathe, if we never take the walk down St. George, if we never take the break and review with the eyes of our heart how we are living and how we are being, we are not kings and queens of nature. And if we, work with our elemental Divine Mother, that helps us to be more of a king and queen of nature. She is the combination of the elements plus ether. So she is earth and water and fire and air and ether together. And in that, she forms the star, the 5, which is why so many flowers have 5 petals. Have you noticed that? Have you seen that? So many flowers are constructed with 5 petals as this perfect emanation of divine elemental Ma, like the rose. Yeah.
5.
Say something. I'm going to turn that back on. It's I don't know about you all, but you got a sweater on. Yeah. Yeah.
The rose.
The rose.
5 petals, but it continues and multiplies out.
Yes, keeps unfolding.
5 seeds
In geometric patterns. 5 seeds in the apple. Yes, if you ever cut an apple, one way it forms a star, the other way it forms the feminine sexual organ. It's quite a fruit. Samael and Bior says about the elemental mother that this mother of our natural instincts gives us the sexual potency for sexual transmutation. So it's that instinctive force of nature that the flowers and the bees pollinating and the creatures, they feel that force, that sexual potency very naturally. But as a human, we have a very different relationship and responsibility with that energy than the other creatures do. And that's what we teach as part of the alchemical teachings that we're not talking about tonight. Anything on chat? Just want to make sure. Okay, great. We will have some reflective questions soon. So these 5 aspects of the Divine Mother create a 5-pointed star, the pentagram, which in the Gnostic tradition is understood as a positive symbol. The upright pentagram represents the upright, ascending, awakening human being. head, arms, legs. It is the awakening human being. And the awakening human being works with all 5 aspects of his divine mother.
Well, then what does the inverted one do?
So the inverted downward pointing star, which long ago, when creation was still descending from higher dimensions into the physical, the downward pointing star was an appropriate symbol, because there was this descending into material realms that needed to happen. We are quite materialized enough now. We've reached the end of that road, and the furthering of that road is into the inferior infradimensions, into the hell regions. If we just keep materializing, we're not going to be in the physical realm anymore. We're going to be in the inferior realms. That's what's happening. Some cities have sunk into those inferior realms. They're actually no longer really resonating even at a physical level. They're resonating at an inferior realm level because of hypermaterialization. So the descending pentagram with the head pointing down is that symbol of continuing to descend and commit to hypermaterialization, which is just, I use the word appropriate. It's just not appropriate anymore. Like, we're done. We need to go in a different direction now. So this upward pentagram is triumph of spirit over matter. It is to realize Purush within Prakriti, to realize spirit within matter, to live as a spirit within matter, to be a realized human being, is that upright pentagram. And as it says here, it embodies the regenerative, protective, and transformative power of the divine feminine. So it's a powerful symbol. A lot of Gnostics will wear a pentagram symbol around their neck as a, what is this called? A pendant? Pendant? That was, yeah.
Necklace?
Mm-hmm. This part, the pendant.
Oh.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So when we talk about awakening our soul's inner intelligence, and I've been talking about it for almost an hour, I want to hear from you a little bit, including Zoom. You could write in the chat. You could raise your physical or digital hand in chat, and Jeffrey will free you up to be able to, we could hear you in the room. But, what experience have you had so far through the Gnostic teaching, or maybe something similar to what we've talked about tonight, and practice of getting in touch with your own divine feminine wisdom? Like, how do you relate with that within the context of this topic? What are some ways that you've actually experienced this through a practice, through a teaching? What are examples? What else does it mean? I've given some examples. Through art. Yes. Through right brain activities and art and creativity. Yeah. Even just, hey, if you're not an artist, just sometimes write with your left hand. It helps activate that part of you. It's not about being, perfect. But it is about activating the right hemisphere. Yeah. It's a wonderful example through art. Mm-hmm.
Music. Art and music, I see them as the same, but music would be the auditory expression of the visual. And it's a beautiful way to communicate the solar and lunar forces together, where you shared a quote a long time ago that mathematics is not the language of the universe, it's music, that we express it through mathematics. It is love or consciousness in relation to time. vibration frequency.
Mm. So the love of music and the love that is music. Mhm.
And Tiferet, the human soul on the tree of life.
Can you see it?
No one can see it. Tiferet, the human soul in Hebrew means beauty.
Mm-hmm.
And the beings that live within that realm, the Malachim, are the kings and queens of nature. Malach means king, queen.
Who in Zoom? Oh, I see somebody in the chat.
Here we go.
The Kali energy, Kara, the Kali energy, cutting away things I thought I could never give up. Yes. Thank you. And Katerina, through gardening, nurturing a seedling and feeling the abundance and constant giving of the mother. Yes, gardening is wonderful. That's another form of art. Mm-hmm. Is gardening, creating beauty.
It's the dirtier form.
Thank you. Yes. What's important is that we all have our own living examples, our way of not just practicing, yes, having dedicated practices, but incorporating this as a way of life, incorporating the divine feminine into our way of being day to day, into our way of living, into our way of life day to day as something natural, not this, you have to wait till you go to the temple or the mosque or the whatever. You don't have to wait until the time of your usual practice, but how do we incorporate it into our day-to-day life? There are different, we could say, grades of consciousness. Even having that intention is a certain amount of consciousness. Even just noticing that is a certain amount of consciousness there. So we then expand upon that and use the tools, for instance, of our way of breathing, feeling somatically really connected to ourselves and the moment, really kind of clearing as much as we can the preoccupations that take us out of presence with the moment, with the person, with whatever we're doing, clear it up so that we're really, really present, and just keep bringing more and more of your active consciousness to it. That the pentagram, the 5, also indicates to us that awakening human being rising up is awake in all 5 centers of the human machine: the mentality, the emotion, the instincts, the sexuality, and the body. That to be an uprising star, we are bringing as much conscious awareness, awakeness, direct contact, direct perception, free from the fetters of absencing ourselves, free from preoccupations so much. I mean, not 100%, but there are degrees of that awakening. But to be the upright star and not the downfalling star, we need to have awakeness, awareness, presence in our 5 centers. And so it sounds like there's a strong flint spark there of that presence that you're expressing, and to keep paying attention to that presence and allowing it to grow and protecting it from what wants to steal it out of you. It is divine feminine intelligence. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Positive dialogue, just eye contact, looking at each other, regarding each other, can be that what they've done, who they are, receive ourselves. So we need to receive ourselves to feel compassionate and caring towards ourselves. We need to actually receive. It's like I receive you, I accept, I receive you, I receive myself. It's a very receptive, because again, we are the choice, we are the choosers, we are the choice point. And so what matters is that each of us, 32, are we 33 maybe? You don't know. You lost
We're 30.
Yeah, we're 30-ish.
31. There was some bad counting.
We're 30-ish.
Twice.
What matters is that if we're 30, people than these 30 out of the 8.3 billion that we recognize the choices that we make, and that we incorporate into our way of living, our external lifestyle and our internal lifestyle. What kind of thoughts do we allow? What kind of emotions do we continue to invest in and allow to persist without intervention? What kind of day do we design to live? What kind of presence do I have with myself, with others, with life, with nature, that we choose? And it's not a matter of your accomplishments, your bank account, your intellectual degrees. It's not a matter of, and that those aren't the choices. Those might be representative of choices, positive or descending choices, I don't know, but the representatives of our choices, our homes, our possessions, what we look like, our clothes, are not the choice itself. What matters is that we focus on the choice itself, which is your presence in this moment, and how you're relating with this moment, with yourself, with this opportunity, and with life. And that we carry that choice, which is synonymous to presence, as a way of being and as a way of living. And that our choice chooses to pause and trust into that receptive yin, feminine, divine intelligence, that we are living within ourselves and we're living in our 5 centers in a way that has balance of this feminine energy, that it's not all go, 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 and that we snuff out, that we overrun, that we overdo out of that divine, feminine, receptive, compassionate knowing. So that's why I wanted to pause and I say, hey, what are your ideas? What have you done, or what do you do, or what do you think? Because we then learn from each other in that way. We've got some great ideas: art and music and compassion and community. Mm-hmm. And pausing and magnifying the consciousness that is there, paying attention to it and letting it grow, like the gardening of tending to that small seedling and letting it grow. The consciousness is like that. There's a mantra. We often say, work with mantras, pray with mantras in Gnosis. And some of these mantras are also names or titles, Ra-mio being one of them, like Ra, the solar god, E, the masculine principle, and O, the feminine creative principle. So it's like God, Father, Mother, which is synonymous to a Hebrew name of God, Elohim, that's often just translated in English as just God, which is often masculinized and anthropomorphized. But Elohim, the Hebrew word for God, there are multiple Hebrew words for God. Eloah combined is Elohim, which is plural. It's the male principle, the female principle, pluralized. In other words, gods and goddesses. Interesting that that's just translated into God. We don't have a word in English that expresses that. The true nature of God. We don't have, well, there aren't any words in any language to really express the true nature of God, but some languages are able to finesse it more. So Ra-mio is like that. It's Ra, the solar force, God itself, E, masculine, O, feminine, this combination. So it is to say, to chant the name of God and to affirm the name of God, but recognizing that masculine and feminine principle within creation, within God. Ra-mio. So I'll invite us, and it's an invitation. It's not a requirement by any means. If you're not comfortable with mantras, because in a class such as this, we haven't really taught much about, but mantra means manas, mind, trai, to protect, or to enrich, to protect or enrich our mind with mantras is the purpose. So to enrich and in a way protect our minds with God as Father and Mother would be the hoped for outcome of saying this mantra, Ramio. And I'll also invite us to repeat a prayer, an ancient Gnostic prayer, that is declaring our belief, but more belief as in a feeling, or at least a hope or an imagination. I believe, I hope in, I imagine, or I have faith in Mary, Maya, Isis, or under any of her names in the physical force symbolizing nature, whose conception and childbirth reveals the fertility of nature. And in the end, I will just say another prayer. So will be a practice of some silence and meditation, but also some activity with the sound, the verb, the music, the word, the vibration of the word, the verb. Okay, so let's begin by settling into whatever posture. Those of you at home, you could lie down in the form of the 5-pointed star with your arms out and your legs out. That's a terrific meditation pose. You could, if you have a way that you typically sit for meditation, then take that posture in which you are comfortable and alert, so that your spine is elongated with its natural curvature, and you feel the base of your spine rooting more towards the ground, the earth. And at the same time, feel the top of your spine gently elevating towards the sky, so that you find this elongation in your spine. If you are sitting in a way, or tend to, where your shoulders are hunched a bit forward, then roll your shoulders up towards your ears and back. And then let your shoulder blades just gently relax down your back, so that your posture is open. Why? So that your lungs are open. Why? So that you can breathe in prana. And when we breathe in prana well, we regulate our mind and our nervous system when we put ourselves in that conducive state for meditation, for practice, for prayer. You can have your eyes closed if you're comfortable with that, or you can just lightly, gently gaze with a soft focus and slightly opened eyes before you, or on a non-distracting spot. It's up to you. You may let your hands rest on your lap, or if you have a mudra that you take, that's fine. And with these open lungs, let's take in that prana. And the best way to start a breath is with the exhale, in the sense that it prepares us for the inhale. So let all of the air out. Wherever you are in your breath, just let that exhale out, ideally through your nose if you can. And then once the air is all out, then slowly take in the next inhale, all the way down towards your belly, the length of the lungs. Inhaling through the nose if you can. And then once you have a fullness without tension, pause and then slowly exhale to the end of your exhale. So regulate your breathing in this way. Full, complete exhales and inhales. Meanwhile, let your face, your neck, your shoulders, your whole body relax. If you need to move at all during the practice, you're free to move, but move with awareness, not as a reaction, but as an action. If at any point you get very, very distracted or unsettled in any way, then gently open your eyes and just ground and anchor your eyesight onto an object that's familiar to you. Feel the touch of your hands on your lap, the feet on the floor. Just be in touch with a grounding sensation in sight. And feel the activity of an inhale, the richness of prana, of breath, of life, entering into your lungs and therefore your whole body, your bodies, your vital body too. And as you exhale, feel the passive energy, the yin, the yielding energy of an exhale, making way for more prana, more life, more solar force to enter in with the next inhale. So notice this natural ebb and flow of a more active side of the breath and the more passive side of the breath. Also, notice that there is a gentle pause between each inhale and exhale, a moment of repose, a moment of integration, recuperation. For this brief time, let your breath and your presence and your awareness itself be enough. You really don't need to think right now or plan or do or remember or fantasize. Let your breath, your presence, and your awareness be enough. Occupy yourself with them. Absorb into your breath this activity of action and repose in each breath. And now I invite you, if you wish, to sound this mantra Ram-E-O 3 times as simply a declaration and honoring and invoking of God as mother and father, if you wish. And if you wish, you may repeat verbally or just mentally this simple prayer that I believe, I honor, I hope for, I imagine, I have faith in. The Divine Mother as Mary, Maya, Isis, or under any of her names, in the physical force symbolizing nature, whose conception and childbirth reveals the fertility of nature. And feel in your heart, beyond the sound of this particular mantra, which may or may not be familiar, or this particular prayer, what's important is what you feel in your heart as your hope, your longing, your faith, your imagination, your yearning for a relationship and a way of being of the divine feminine. That intuitive, compassionate knowing in the heart, that receptive wisdom and knowledge. A balancing that we each so need. The feeling you have in your heart is a prayer in and of itself, and it may have words or it may not. It may have images and it may not. But it needs to have a feeling, a hope, a yearning, a longing, a kind of faith. So now just concentrate on that feeling, that hope, that yearning, that longing that brought you here tonight. And pray intimately within this hope, within this longing, within this need that you feel in your heart that brought you here tonight. Pray in that. To generate more hope, more longing, this magnetism. The magnetism of your own heart to feel and love and receive. To seek beauty, art, to tend a seedling, to regard others with care, to slow down and take a breath, all of that in your heart. That's your prayer, that's your meditation. As we feel this, it grows, it expands, and we want it to expand into the days to come, to guide us, to be felt, to be a way of life. Now inhale and exhale as if directly into that hoping heart and out from that hoping heart. Nourish your heart with prana, with breath, with that rhythm of E-O, action and repose. And as you listen from that hoping heart, I will bring this practice toward a close with a final prayer to the Divine Mother. O Divine Mother, endless light of the heavens, may it always be like this on this day. May you not be spoken of as a tangible thing, but instead as the perpetual light of the heavens that is never ever extinguished. You are what has been, what is, and what will be. The winged sphere and the blue of the sky are yours. Queen of heaven, divine pentagram, be my guiding star on the sea. Be my support so that my boat will not be shipwrecked, will not sink. Sustain me so that I do not lose myself in this great ocean of life. You are my refuge in these stormy nights that can seem endless. My hopes are enclosed and encoded in you. Do not let me leave the light. Have mercy on me, on my soul. You are my refuge, O Divine Mother. O Divine Mother. O Divine Mother.
This video is an excerpt from a talk held at the BC Gnostic Center in Vancouver, Canada. Since ancient times, the esoteric teaching of Gnosticism has been conveyed master to disciple in an intimate setting, and therefore anything found written or recorded can only be an exoteric transmission and is meant to inspire and support. Gnosis is ideally experienced in person, with direct and consistent connection between teacher, student, and within a community where ample support, accountability, and collective learning can take place. That being said, we do offer online videos so that everyone may contact these transformative teachings, as well as ongoing online group study and practice to support those sincerely interested in this wisdom but who are unable to join a group in person at this time. We encourage everyone to find a Gnostic school and community, and may the light of consciousness guide us all.